Hi families, it's Alex here. Today I'm going to talk about the Study Records tab and how to check on your students' progress. I think this is one of the most important videos in terms of keeping up with how your child is doing. So on the bottom left, there's a Study Records button. To the right of it, Study History. I'll do a different video on that. But the Study Records button, if you click on that, it's going to open up a screen that looks something like this. Now, this is a demo account. As always, I'll never show real student data on these videos. So you can see on the far left column, it shows the date work was done. The middle column shows the amount of time spent on that work. And the right column shows the number of sheets or number of pages. Now, the sheets or pages is equivalent to 2 screens. So that bottom row says 8 sheets. That would have been 16 screens of work. So sometimes students confuse that. If you think of a piece of paper as a front and a back, that's 2 screens, but 1 sheet or 1 page. Now, these are all color-coded, and the color coding is simply by time. So the blue, because this is a demo, I demonstrate this really quickly a lot to families, so the blue is really fast, okay? That means kids are finishing stuff in what's called faster than our standard completion time, okay? That doesn't mean it's bad, it just means they're going really quick. Then there's a yellow. Yellow means good time. That's in between what we call our standard completion time, so we want to see yellows more than pinks. Pink means we want the student to get a little quicker at that skill. They're not finishing it in the amount of time that is our goal. The gray is the other color you'll see. Gray means there's something not completed about the work. So either the student submitted it and it hasn't been graded, or maybe it's been graded and the student hasn't finished the corrections yet. So once it's completed to 100%, then it'll turn a color based on the time. Now, at the top, there's a little include correction time button. So if you want to include their correction time as well, click that, okay? And that can sometimes change the colors. So if a student finishes something really quickly, but has a lot of mistakes, and they spend double the time doing corrections, then the total time is actually a lot longer than it initially looks. If you notice that one yellow one turned to pink. So you can include or not include correction time to kind of see how the student's doing in terms of time. If you click on one of those little boxes, so I'll click on one at the bottom, it'll open up scores students are getting on pages. So again, it's a demo account, but I did a couple things here to show you what some of these scores mean. So first, towards the bottom, you see that red 85. So if the score is red, it means the student has not completed corrections yet, or his or her corrections have not been completely checked yet. So red means it's not 100% yet. Either the student has corrections, as you saw when I opened up the video, or those corrections have been submitted, but they have not been checked yet to see if they're 100%. Next, the blue ones mean that's 100% or has been corrected to 100%, those blue scores. The blank scores there, the little blank boxes are below the 23 and 24 at the bottom. That means it hasn't been graded yet. So the student might have just submitted that work and it hasn't been graded yet, so there's no score for it yet. Below the numbers, so if you look to the bottom right, you see the 90 with a dot underneath it. The dot means the student took 2 or more attempts to correct that assignment to 100%. If there's no dot underneath it, like the scores to the right, the 90, the 85, and the 90, that means the student corrected it on the first attempt. So the goal is that the student can fix things on the first attempt, but often as students get to more challenging work, it might take 2 or 3 or 4 attempts to finally grasp that concept and get it fully correct. In which case, we'll kind of keep practicing it. So that's what those scores mean. If you were to click on one of those boxes, let's say I click on the one that has a 90 and a dot in it. It's like, what'd they take 2 attempts to correct? Well, I want to see. So I look on there and you see it's now 100% on this page, but the top right has a 90 and then an arrow and then a 95 and then an arrow. So it means the first score, the student got a 90 on this page, and then they corrected some and got a 95, but they still missed something. So if I go to the next screen with the arrow on the right, I see there, and it's actually still incorrect because I didn't actually correct it. I was just showing this as demonstration, but you see the 2 X's that are circled. That means they missed it 2 or more times, but now that it's circled, that means it's correct. And yes, I realize that's not correct, but again, that's just a demonstration, so I apologize for not actually fixing that. And then you can go back to the study records, and if you wanted to look at a different assignment, you could click on a different box and see something different. So that's where you can see kind of how your student's doing, where they're at, how much they're spending time on corrections, which ones they're correcting on the first attempt, which ones they're taking multiple attempts. And you can go through at the top where the letter A is, and there's an arrow to the right and the left. You can go back and look at previous levels and see how they did on previous levels. You can go forward. Well, you can't go forward because if there wouldn't be anything on future levels, but in this demo, I could go forward and see what was potentially on future levels. You also have a math and a reading tab at the top. So I showed a math screen. The reading screen is identical in terms of what the numbers and colors and everything means. If your student's enrolled in both subjects, you can click on the reading tab above, and it'll open up the same thing for reading. That way you don't have to go back and then forward really quickly. You can look at both subjects that way. But the meaning of all the numbers is the same. The only other thing to point out is this little asterisk. So you see kind of at the bottom of the page there, a little asterisk and then 100. The asterisk usually means the student did very poorly on that page. And so we don't want to put that the student maybe got a 20 or a 0 or whatever. We just put a little asterisk for a low score, but that demonstrates that the student missed significant number of problems or a large amount on that page generally. But as students advance, that could mean they only missed one of the 2 problems on the page and they still have an asterisk there. So it just depends on what they're working on for that particular day. If you go back to the home screen, it'll look back like this. You can log this onto your phone, so you can scan a QR code, and I'll create a video for that as well, where you can get this same thing on your phone so you can check remotely and don't have to log into your student's tablet every time to check their progress. As always, if you have questions, please